Hello everyone, I am Bhumika, career coach and co-founder at Meraki Counselling. Today we have with us Mr. Sarthak Mishra. He'll be talking about career in sports management. Even before he jumped into sports management, there were very intriguing things that he was doing, that he was up to. So why don't you tell us about your career journey, your personal journey, before we talk about career in sports management? Over to you.
Well, first of all, thank you very much to Meraki Counselling and Bhumika for having me on board and to do this interview. It's really, certainly challenging times, but these are the things that we look forward to. Some conversations that can give us, a little bit of inspiration and help us at our journey. Well, in short, my journey has been very simple, which is being outdoors, play sports, teach sports, and share my knowledge and experience wherever I can. I did a bit of, different kind of sports. So I've done football, obviously that's been my main sport and still is. I work for the Western Australian Football Federation. But apart from football, I've done professionally boxing. I've done cycling professionally. I've done long touring cycling. So I've cycled on a very, old kind of cycles. We used to have the very non-geared and simple bicycle. I did cycling from Jaipur to Mumbai when I was in just after class 12. Then I did my cycling to Ladakh, and then beyond it, I went to Khardungla, which is the highest motorable road in the world. Did cycling there. Then I did trekking from Kashmir to Himachal Pradesh, and all bits of silly pieces, silly things. But I'm glad that I did all those things, and I would encourage anyone to, and everyone to do all those things because it's something which definitely teaches you a lot of things, and you enjoy doing those things.
Definitely, that's pretty interesting. Could you tell us the amount of kilometers that you covered in how many days?
I think Mumbai, I covered 14 days. It was about 1400 kilometers. So my average was around 100 kilometers a day. In Ladakh, it was quite challenging because of the condition of roads and the, uphills and downhills. So it took me about just over 15 days to cover a total of 500 kilometers, which is from Manali to Khardungla and back to Ladakh. And then in my trekking expedition, how long did it take? About 2 weeks to get from Zanskar Valley to Darcha in Himachal Pradesh. But that was a beautiful experience, from desert to jungles to rainy areas. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like. So when did all of this experience start? Like, were you pretty young? Was it after immediately after college, after school? When is that?
So they all have very interesting similar factor behind that, and that is my injuries. So um, for anyone who wants to know the cost behind football and playing professionally, I've dislocated both my shoulders. I dislocated my left shoulder 9 times and got a surgery on it. And that's when I went for my cycling during that rehab time, because the doctor said you can't do anything, you have to stay at home. And I said, that's not happening. I have to go out. I can't stay at home. So did cycling then unfortunately, that was a silly mistake of mine. I wasn't wearing shin guards, which is protection for my leg, while playing football, and somehow broke my bone into 8 pieces while playing football. And it took me about 1.5 years to recover, and the doctor said you should quit sports because it's quite a bad fracture. I had rods and pins sitting in for a long time, and I said, not happening. So I just went for this journey with my trekking and whatnot. Ended up doing stress fracture in the same place, but well, we recovered fast, so it was fine. A bit of a pain, but definitely a bit of a journey. Really enjoyed it. So whenever I was injured, rather than letting myself down or thinking I can't do it anymore, or just because the doctor is saying, yes, doctor was saying it for my well-being and it was a professional advice. But I think the journey provided me a lot more than just recovery and, healing that injury.
Mm. To be very honest, this is something new to me as well. So I'm also like
Right.
inspired by the story already. That's so good to hear. And I've also heard about your inclination towards wildlife conservation, environment. So what are the things that you've done on those lines?
Uh, well, I would say it should be everyone's kind of inclination.
course.
towards protecting our world, the beautiful world we live in. But yes, I was a bit involved in the wildlife conservation. Uh, but I started my journey with Raksha. I hope you can edit that bit. I'll start again. So I started my journey with Raksha, which is a NGO that works for primarily reptiles and also conservation of wild birds. So this is something that I came about in 2010, I think it was, when I was doing my run, and I ended up at a national biological park, and I saw the condition the animals were in, and that's something really moved me. So I started searching for places where I can go and join and make a difference. Well, bottom line, I worked for about 4.5 years. I'm still involved into reptile rehabilitation and wildlife rehabilitation, reptile rescue. So if someone sees a snake or a snake, accidentally moved into people's house, we go there, we rescue the snake, save the life of the human, save the life of the animal, reptile, and then relocate them back into the wild. And during Sakrat, a lot of, I don't know if you're familiar with Sakrat, it's a festival where you fly kites in Jaipur. So a lot of birds get injured during that time. So we rescue them. We have a helpline. We work 24/7. Sometimes we even stay awake for 72 hours straight, performing surgeries on the birds. And then, you know, we get a lot of wild birds too, like kites, vultures. And I think one of the incidents I will never forget is we couldn't save a vulture. It was a Himalayan vulture, really, really rare breed, and its artery was cut on the left wing, and we rescued it. Um, yeah, but we couldn't save it. So that is something that moved me really, really, into a different place, a different thinking scenario. But yes, I've been involved, and I'm still involved. There's a couple of projects that my ex colleagues, or I was a volunteer, but my ex gurus are setting up for wildlife rehabilitation, for panther rehabilitation. I've been working a lot for elephant corridors in the Northeast. So yes, that's something I think that's my duty. And I'll be happy to share these experiences and inspire anyone to take this path down the road. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It certainly takes a lot of talking and making your point, but it's something very rewarding. It's something really very rewarding.
I'm sure, like the way you're talking about it, it sounds like that it's very fulfilling and very satisfying for you to be able to contribute in that direction.
Yeah, yes, 100% it is.
Okay. So, didn't you ever think of making a full-time profession, by taking up a BSc Environmental Science or doing a course revolving around the same? In fact, I heard that, you were heading to Australia to actually pursue a course on this side. Then what made you switch towards sports management?
I certainly think of pursuing it as a career, and I was looking at a college in Dehradun, but their primary requirement was science as your subject, as your 12th subject. And when I entered into wildlife, I was already in class 11, so I had done my sins of taking commerce and maths. So there was something that I you know, couldn't pursue in India because that's your primary requirement. You have to have science. Then I looked at Australian universities whether I can do something here. And actually, while I was exploring all these things, I came across sports management course, and that was the very first time I heard of the name, I heard of the course. So then I started looking into it, and then something, I thought one of my gurus from wildlife said, "Look, your work is more field. You don't really want to go into policy development and doing researching and geotagging and working on all those things. We are here for that. You are still a field person, and you can be always a field person and pursue sports on the side." So that's what I'm doing now. I'm pursuing sports, my formal career, and I still work on the side for my wildlife conservation. Interestingly enough, if someone gets chance, our website is www.inspira.in, which is my sports management and consultancy. And our logo is actually a little elephant. And everything we do and our company values revolve around the qualities of an elephant. And we have made a commitment that 5 years down the track, when we start to achieve our forecasted revenues, 40% of our revenue purely would go to help the wildlife, and particularly help building wildlife corridors in the Northeast.
That's so amazing. Such an intriguing journey, I tell you. and I think I can just keep talking about it though, like all day long. However, since today we are talking about career in sports management, let's jump on to understanding what exactly is sports management. Let's say you just have to introduce sports management as a term, as a career to laymen. So
Right.
just help us understand what it means exactly.
Right. So sports management is nothing but a commercialized side of running any sporting event or running sports. So if you are about to play football, you need to have a couple of things. You need to have a ground. So you need people to manage the ground. When you're playing, you need an opponent team. So you need someone to organize the opponent team. That's your competitions department. When you're playing, you also need some insurance and to make sure you are safe and there's some sort of structure, and then you are playing every weekend. So you need an administration person behind that. And sports management is the amplified thing of that. When you talk about top sports league, you have your teams, you have your team managers, you have your medical team, you have your coaching team, you have competitions manager who is organizing what day what team will play in which position, which park, how the fixtures will look like. Then obviously when we are doing so much about the players, we also have to look after people who are behind the players, like club management. So then different departments come into place where we try and support the club volunteers. So it's moms and dads, in Western countries, and it should be in India as well. A lot of parents come on board for grassroots sports, and they say, okay, we are going to help run the teams. On Sundays, we'll help do this, we'll be the referees. So we need to make sure it's rewarding for them. So we build packages and induction packs for them, which is, helping them develop personally and also helping them deal with the kids. And all in all, we are sort of supporting the community, and that's what my role is. It's a sports development officer, where we support the whole community, the players. We also support the coaches, referees, club volunteers, your medical staff, your sports trainers. So it's like an ecosystem, and whatever bits and pieces you need to make that ecosystem work is essentially what sports management experts do.
Okay.
Yes, so I think that
Right.
helps.
Of course, it does. So even the event management, like just connecting the dots and pulling off the entire event that happens, the competitions that happens, or is
Sorry, I lost you there, Bhumika. Can you please repeat that? The
yeah.
question? Sorry.
So all the let's say the events that are happening, the competitions that are happening. So all the coordination that goes around it as well is also part of sports management, if we are understanding it right.
Yes, yes. That is what sports management is. You have players, two players or two teams playing against each other. Whatever goes around them, whether it's insurance, medical, competitions, grounds maintenance, light management, venue management, where it's being played, it's all part of sports management.
Right, right, right. And what is the role of finance, HR, marketing, since we're talking about management?
Mhm.
So understanding in nitty gritties of these areas is also important or not really?
I think we are all part of a bigger machinery. When you come into all these things, unlike startups or small companies, or when you get experience, when you're coming into this big thing, all the parts are smoothly placed and they all work together. So everyone has a smooth role to play. The HRs, talking in terms of football particular knowledge, the HR makes sure that everyone is safe and is covered by insurance and have got appropriate licenses and have got appropriate policies in place. Like in Australia, you have to have a working with children check, which is a kind of identity or your pass to work with young children. And that actually you get that card, and the federal police does a check in your name, makes sure you have no criminal history or anything like that. Then they issue you that card. So the HR makes sure not only us but the network of coaches in the whole state or the whole country actually has all those appropriate passes, so that it's safe to coach. They have not got any criminal history on in their records and anything like that. Then policies, coaches contract, how long the contract will go for, what happens if something falls apart. So but all these things that I'm talking about, they only come in play when we talk about commercial side of it, like big leagues, the state associations, national association, national leagues. But from if you are talking about a layman, you are just going down your park, playing football, tennis, basketball, swimming, whatever your sport is, and you enjoy that. But there's a huge machinery behind it that's making it possible and enabling us to enjoy this sport in a safe, enjoyable, competitive, and fun environment.
Right, right, right. So the managerial aspect that we talked about actually is also, implied not just on the smaller level, but also when you're talking about the leagues happening, all the big shot
Mhm.
games happening. So that's where also all of this goes into the picture, right? Is there any
Yes.
difference in the role on the smaller level and on the bigger level, if there is?
Well, sports management itself is a very broad term, and then you have, manager is again, the word manager in a lot of sports is only for used for an athlete agent, so someone who's managing a particular
Okay,
athlete.
that's where
So
I get
that's,
confused.
yes, that's one. And then you have managers. So let's say in my company or any other sporting organization, you have about 20 managers. So one is competitions manager who
Uh,
looks after the competitions. One is development manager who looks after development. One is referees manager, uh, human resource manager. So you have manager. That's a different term of managers.
right.
And then the term manager itself is like someone who represents the athlete.
Ah,
So
right.
it's the athlete representative.
Okay.
So that's one branch. That's one branch of the whole sports management industry.
Got it. Now it makes some sense because a lot of movies that you watch around
Yep.
is talking about sports manager being sports agent, and today I think you've made that very clear for us that it's not just a sports agent, and there's
Yep.
so many other roles that one can take up.
Yes.
Okay, so what made you pick sports management? And even though you've discussed your niche, so could you tell us
Mhm.
more about that? How does your day look like?
Right. So I've told you what made me pick because I played for such a long time. I wanted, and one of the things I realized was being a player, there's certain challenges you face,
Mm.
and it's nearly impossible to correct those challenges unless you are in that situation or you are in the power, decision making power. So I took that route because I want to change a few things, and we are on the right path. We are making a positive change, and it's not that something was not good and we are making good, but it's just that a lot of things have evolved, and sport in whole needs to evolve too. We need to keep up with the modern society. We have got wonderful engineers. We have got, you know, groundbreaking medical technology and all these things. We need to incorporate all these things into sports so we can develop as a human being. Um, my niche and my particular day or my traditional day is the only thing I love about my job. There
Mm.
is no typical day. There is no typical day. So, but I'll tell you what, it all revolves about a couple of things that we need to work out. So my role is sports development officer, and I look after a region. I've been given, you know, how big is the region? Oh, it's quite big. Australia is quite big.
Mm.
Couple of thousand kilometers is what I look after. My main roles are around. So I started my journey as a coach, but now you can say I only coach the teams, Australian teams that go overseas to play. So like if they go to Singapore, Asia, or somewhere else, and they have to play, then I coach those elite kids. I coach the coaches here. So if they have to pursue a license, I deliver those community coaching courses and give them those licenses to become coaches. I help the referees in pursuing although referees is a different department, but we help them run coaching courses and things like that. We help the clubs into improving their infrastructure, helping them to deliver their own programs, help them give the right pathway. So if someone is playing well in a club, how can they get into the state team, then to the national team, and trying to make it unified rather than people searching here and there, where can we go? We are trying to unify everything and make a massive talent ID system. Then I do a little bit into, and I say a little bit, it's quite a lot, but compared to the joy that you get, a bit of administration. So you prepare a lot of competition sheets, and you try and look for funding for local clubs, or what are the fundings available, how can you get more money into the sports so that we can improve things. And just before COVID, we were looking into something like applying for a grant from federal government into building India Australia economic strategy. So there is a India Australia economic strategy 2035, where we are looking to build a thousand hundreds of thousands of dollars relationship between India and Australia by doing sports exchange and whatnot. So these are some of the things that you work in. So there's no typical thing. It's a very evolving thing, but obviously there are four pillars. Yeah, your coaches, your players, your referees, and your volunteers. Everything revolves around them. You help them. You try and support them as much as you can. And obviously, one day every day is different. Some days you have got coaching in the evening, some days you just relax on the week. Some people want to relax on weekends is actually our bread and butter. We have to go down, there's thousands of players playing, we have to meet players, make notes for the players, for coaches, for referees. So quite a lot, it's full on, but when you love the sport, it just becomes the part of your identity.
Agree, agree. Yeah, as you also mentioned that the thing that you love about your day is that uh it's pretty unorganized and very dynamic. So I think that's the whole thing that really keeps
Yeah.
you fired up.
It's as we call it, it's an organized chaos.
Yeah.
It's an organized mess. We know it's a mess, but it's organized. We know how to go about it. Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about, sports management culture in Australia, and we know how even sports management culture exists in other countries. But could you tell us more about sports management as a career in India? What are the scope? What is the scope? What are the job opportunities per se?
Okay, referring back to my point, Bhumika, it's a whole system. It's a big industry that's being commercialized now, and which is a very good thing. Um, sorry, I don't have any stats with me, as in how big the industry is. But if someone Googles it, it will show up that it's, I think, third or fourth biggest industry. You know, like we say, entertainment industry, medical industry. I think it's one of the industries that's picking up really well. With respect to India, a very good thing that has happened in the past years is they've come up with a lot of professional leagues. Obviously, it all started with IPL, which had a very pretty blank canvas to work on, so it worked out really well. Then you have Indian Soccer Super League for football, you have Pro Kabaddi League, and all these leagues are coming up. And without a doubt, that opens up heaps of opportunities for work and roles in those. You know, you have leagues that you can work itself into leagues, so you can work in the IPL, you can work in the ISL management. Then you filter it down. There's teams that are playing in those leagues, so you can work into the management of those teams. You can be athlete managers, or you can be, social media manager of that team, or you can be a doctor associated with that team. So you don't necessarily have to have football backgrounds, but if you are someone who loves football but you are a doctor, you can actually work as a doctor with sports teams. So there's heaps of opportunities from people from all backgrounds. So you can work either itself into the leagues, then you filter it down to all the teams that you have, they're participating in, that you can work for them. Then you filter it down, then you have athletes, so you can become athlete manager who are playing into those teams. So athlete to team to league. So you have got opportunities on all verticals to work with: leagues, clubs, players, and obviously then you have similar leagues. Not even if it's a big country, big population. So even if you don't look at IPL and all these top leagues, then you have state leagues, you have regional leagues. Mumbai will have a pro Mumbai league for the Maharashtra people doing. Goa has a pro Goa league for their sports. The Kolkata would have I League, and there's heaps of leagues going around. And your main idea should be whether you want to work in a league, or you want to work with a team, or you want to work with an athlete. And if you don't want to work with any of those, you can still work for venue management. So there's big stadiums in India. You can still go into venue management if you are someone from project management background. So there's myriad of opportunities. There's heaps of opportunities, and people can pursue in. And regardless of what their background is, there's demand of, all backgrounds.
Agreed, agreed. So, could you tell me one thing, that why aren't people talking about sports management course in India as much? Like, even while you were searching for courses, in Australia, that's when you came across a sports management course. So it seems like that there is a demand. It seems like that people are required in this field, and it does sound like that, there are heaps of opportunities. Then why are we not talking about sports management course or career in India as much? I'm sure you must be aware about that fact.
Yes, I am, and I think it's picking the pace,
Right.
and people are talking about it slowly. It's still not as much as we want it to be.
Yeah.
For example, I in the past 2 or 3 years, I've had over 50 inquiries, just
Oh,
saying, "How did you pursue your sports management?" And that's me. I don't even say going out there I did sports management. It's just friends of friends,
yeah.
or some friends of family members and stuff like that. So, you have got some good colleges in India, IISM, Indian Institute of Sports Management, and you've got other places that are now going into sports management a lot. A lot of entrepreneurs are coming out. So there's talking happening, but we need to talk more. And I think the more people will get opportunities, they will be a bit more vocal about their achievements. They will be vocal on the social media. So I think it's the chain that will pick up. And definitely you and me, we are today playing a role in spreading that knowledge. So more conversations like this need to happen.
Yeah.
And that's going to amplify the total, the aura of sports management. But yeah, it definitely needs to happen. Otherwise, what will happen is, and I hate to say this, but a lot of foreign people come and steal the opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, people would hate me for this if you are watching this, but it's really sad to see that you have got so many foreign coaches in all your leagues, in top Indian teams, national teams. Um, and believe me, there is Indian coaches. There is people in India who have gone overseas, taken the exposure, come back, learn, who are definitely qualified to take the national team role coach and all these things. So we need to give more opportunities to Indians and need to end this obsession with white skin.
Yeah, yeah. That's probably why there's not much awareness around it, because people are shying away from entering the field, thinking that
Yeah.
you get the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it starts at home. Look again.
Mm.
Not trying to blame, but I don't know if there's any better way of saying it, but it starts from home.
Agree.
When parents are not building confidence of their kids, where they are not buying into their dreams, this is what's going to happen. They can't go out and pursue their dream. If
Yeah.
they are not going to say, oh, you want to be next Messi, or you want to be next manager, good manager, or you want to be the next good coach, let's do this. What do you need for that? Go talk into your birthday parties. Don't say Sarma ji ke bete ko kitna percentage aaya. Go and talk, my son wants to become this coach, such a good thing, or my son wants to become a sports doctor, and
Mm.
things like that. Like you start that at home. When your son or your daughter goes out, they'll talk about it. Like my daughter wants to be the next tennis player or football player, and then she will have confidence. She'll go to school and talk about this.
Mm.
But when you say, beta, dekho to IIT mein jana hai, then she's not going to go there and talk about this. If the parents are not building the capacity, it's about building that character inside your house. Once you do that, then people go out and be confident and they can do all these things.
Yeah. Also, Sarthak, what I think is that, in India, we all, most of us are aware about the fact that sports means becoming a sports person, right? Uh, and we understand where the insecurity is coming from, like as you also mentioned that you've been through so many injuries, and
Mhm.
that actually takes a toll on a career of a sports person. Having said that, we don't understand that there's so many other segments to sports, like, we
Yeah.
had a word with one of the sports psychologists. Today we are having a word with a sports manager. So I'm sure there are so many other options when it comes to sports industry, sports field. Yeah, so would you want to talk more about those fields and help people understand that even if sports person is something that you're not being able to pursue as a career option, what all are the other things you can do around sports?
Yeah.
Which
Um,
I'm sure you've already talked about a lot already, but if you could just quickly
uh,
break down for
no,
us.
no, I'll happy to touch upon that. So, uh, giving you some stats, I can talk about football because that's where I come from. Only 0.03 percentage of the total number of football players around the world actually make it to professional level or earn their living from football. So 99.70 don't, and that's a huge number.
Huge number. So no
And
wonder
and
insecurity is coming
yes,
through.
and people need to live with that fact. Okay. Now, having said that, there is a little clause in there that I really like. It says they earn their living from it, and when we say living, it's a full-time job. Okay, so there's only that percentage, little percentage of players who cannot sign the official agreement or contract saying you will get a 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees every month. There's still a huge proportion that play football or play any other professional sport part-time and have a second job,
Right.
right? But statistics doesn't count that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You
Mm.
can play, because how much effort do you need to play football? You can't train 20 hours a day. You train certain hours, you play certain hours, and use your skills to do a second job. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of international players in the Iceland team have
Mm.
a second job, and
Yeah.
they played so well. They
Yeah.
had to apply for their annual leave to come here, and there's nothing wrong with it. So people need to realize, but you need to build that second set of skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little getaway and a bit of emotion for players to say, "Ah, I'll just play, I can be a professional footballer." No, once the reality hits you, then it'll push you down. So keep building that second set of your skills.
Yeah.
And that's what we are trying to do with our company, that when we manage some kids, we don't only focus on their training, even professional. I'm talking about professional footballers who are playing professional, not footballers, I keep saying that, sorry, but professional sports person. Um, we are building their capacity to manage their finances. We are teaching them about investment. We are teaching them about risk and injury. We are teaching them about personal coaching, professional coaching, doing workshop in schools, teaching them speaking skills so that they can go out and engage with the community and earn some bread and butter from there. What's going to happen with a professional footballer if they break their leg for 1 month or 6 months or 1 year? What's your second option? So what needs to happen is, with this whole thing going on to become professionals, you also need to realize that you have to have a second set of skills. Uh, and then you achieve that, you go on a journey of being a professional sports person. And if you can't get there, you always have a backup,
Yeah.
because whatever you have earned from your journey is your experience combined with your set of skills. You can land a job somewhere like where I am.
Yeah. Agree.
Right. It'll be unfair to say that I'm here because I played football. That will be completely unfair. I would give a lot of credit to my studies, the course that I pursued, completed. A lot of credit to people who were around me and who taught me things off the football pitch, off the university, but on the chai ki thadi or in a bar or all those things. So you learn life lessons from there. There's no doubt about that. And all you have to do is you have to sit back. Sometimes you have to sit back. When we go into the aeroplanes, I'll start second way. So if when you are traveling in a very chaotic city like Delhi or something, you are driving, we complain about how these streets are very small. I can't see everything, and there's so many people coming in, overcrowded. Don't like this place. But next day you have to go to, let's say, Japan, and you're in the aeroplane and you look down, it takes off, you are 10,000 feet in the air and you're looking down and you say, what a beautiful city, it's all well planned. You see all the lights in line, you see all your big parks and long buildings and you say, wow, such a beautiful place. Sometimes you have to step back. Once you are in the chaos, you want to become professional footballer, you are desperate, or you are doing this, or parents are not saying no, and you just get lost in that vicious cycle. Take a step back and see, look, what a journey it has been. I know how to play one sport. Okay, I can make something out of it. I've done my 12, so I know how to do basic maths and science. I know how to speak English, or how I know how to speak Hindi, or how to communicate. The language doesn't matter. Then I know I learned few lessons from here. I read a book. You take all those packages together, use your common sense and put it together. Go for a job and you will land it 100%. And sports management, I'm talking about sports management. You can land a job in sports management, and things like that.
Yeah. So besides sports management, there are commentators. There's sports photography, sports journalism,
Yes.
sports psychology, sports
Yeah.
doctor, physiotherapy,
Yeah.
coaches, of course. Am I missing
Yeah.
out? I'm sure there's so much that I'm missing out on.
The one of the most one, the pitch curators, as they call them in cricket, the one who actually looks after the surface. So that's actually a full-time profession now. So you maintain the pitches, you see the quality of ground that you're playing on, whether it's tennis, football, if it's a swimming pool, the main person who looks after the quality of the swimming pool. If you're a tennis player, the person who looks after the turf. It's so professionalized and it's so commercialized that the surface you are standing on is being managed by a full-time person.
Uh,
That's the reality.
yeah, yeah.
If you're passionate about grass, you are from agriculture background, why don't you go and search for a hybrid that can keep the ground alive 12 months a year, things like that. So there's heaps of opportunities, as you just said, and there's the 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 spectrum is very vast, and certainly doesn't matter what background you come from. Sports is always ready to welcome you with open arms.
Um, and so now that we're talking about the background, which course exactly did you pursue, and was there any science background required in your particular case?
I would have quit if required any science, but no. I pursued masters in sports management, so it's MBA, kind of MBA, but specialized into sports management. And having said that, I read the question. You can either go for MBA or sports management, either of them,
That's do.
but it depends on what your goal is. See, if I know that I want to do something in sports and then I do MBA, I don't know how people justify that, because then you are really thinking about second option. Oh, what if sports doesn't work out? I can go somewhere else. But you think about this sports MBA in sports management is the same thing. You have got the same electives and the basics are same. You've got statistics, You have got business administration, sustainable marketing, and all those things. These are the basic of any administration course. You can't change that, yeah, whether it's MBA in sports management or MBA in marketing or whatever. But if I knew already that I want to do something in sports management, I would recommend you go for a sports management course, MBA in sports management. Uh, if you are someone who has already done an MBA,
Yeah.
and now you are thinking, oh, I haven't done sports management, can I be of any use? Yes,
Mm.
yes. It's fine that you have done MBA and not in sports management. You can still come to sports.
Okay.
It might take you 5 months, 6 months extra, depending on which area you want to go in. Let's say sports journalist.
Mm.
So you have done your MBA, do an internship and a, fast track course or a diploma in journalism,
Yeah.
work under a startup, and then I'm sure you can get a job in sports journalism. If
Yeah.
you are if you are into marketing, and you have done MBA, do a little course on marketing, very basic course where you know how to just get this stuff done,
Yeah.
and you can get a job in sports marketing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my answer.
Okay, so let's assume that I'm a student who's just through with the undergraduation and I'm in India right now. Let's say I want
Hmm.
to make my career in the same country. So should I be actually looking at sports management course? Because as we were discussing that, yeah, there are courses, but there are few colleges to it. Or should we look at MBA? I'm just talking about India right now. Or should I look at a sports management course outside India? What is your take on
um, so just understanding your situation, you are someone who has completed their undergrad, and what's your next thought process? Do you want to go into sports industry?
I like sports management and sports
Okay.
industry per se, but I want to make a career in India. So, looking at the scenario of the number of colleges that are there, what
Hmm.
should be my next target option? Should I look at either an MBA in India or a sports management course within India or a sports management course outside India?
Look, it depends on a lot of factors. Wanting to do something and thinking about doing something is one factor. Then you have to look at a few things, and the very major factor is finances.
Right.
Not everyone can afford to go outside India and pursue a course. Having said that, you can get a loan and all that. Second thing is the emotions of your mummy and papa, if they want you to go outside India and they would allow you to go outside India. So there's heaps of factors that you need to consider. Having said that, if you really want to do something in sports management, and you are unable to go outside India, you can always pursue course in India and start working in India. If you are someone who wants to get a sort of exposure, I mean, it's a difficult question to answer, because uh, I'll struggle if I want to apply all my learnings in Australia into Indian scenario, because
Ah,
it's a different culture.
you're right.
It's a different thing. So, if 5 years of my experience in Australia and I want to go back to India and start something again from scratch, I'm 3 years behind. I've taken three years behind, because I have to start from scratch. I have to learn all those things. So if you are someone who wants to work and live in India, I would recommend study in India
Right.
and start in India.
Okay. So
So a huge
study in India, which I think you're making sense where you say that if you have to apply it in India, why not study from there? If you have to stay outside and apply it there, then it makes sense that you do it from there. But even within India, should we think of MBA or should we think of sports management? What is your take on
I think that was gone long ago. So if you think you are doing something in sports management, MBA is out of the window.
that? Okay.
So if you are doing in sports man, if you know, look, if I want to be a doctor, why would I go for something else? Why do I see do I do engineering now? If
Okay.
you are doing sports management, that's the question gone. But if you think I want to do MBA but want to keep sports management as my secondary option, then you do your MBA, and then after MBA, if you can land a good job in your MBA industry, that's well and good. If not, you can do a fast track course or some experience, or you'll have to fight. You'll have to be a bit. If it's your second option, you have given up on sports, and now you want to go back into it, you have to prove yourself to it that you are eager enough to
Right.
go there, and then you do a course or you get an internship, and then you get into the industry.
Right. So I think just the factor here is, again, as we were discussing, not much awareness being
Mhm.
around it. So that's why people also shy away from taking it as a primary option. But I think if one goes ahead with internships, as you also mentioned earlier, that would really help them understand that the horizon is not limited and the scope is not limited, and probably give them that confidence to just take a plunge.
Yeah.
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 So what do you think? What do you think? Like, would you be able to tell us about like companies or startups in India and tell us more about your venture? What age group is it catering to, and other
Mhm.
ventures as well that you can recommend to people?
I think there's a lot of people that are doing good work in India. There's lots of ventures who are doing good work in India. As we say, we are standing on the shoulder of the giants. So I've also learned from a lot of people who are doing work in India and overseas. Speaking of my venture, disclaimer, it might be considered as conflict of interest, but we are dealing in three main services, which is talent management, athlete representation. So we represent athletes, but we actually are representing athletes who are on grassroots level. So you would usually see Virat Kohli or some big shot getting talent managed by someone. They have managers who look after their sponsorship deals, their contracts, and pretty much everything. We are doing the same thing, but with kids who want to get to the big level, because they are the ones actually who need support. Once you are at that level, you can throw money and get any talent manager or anything. So we have actually started free service. So anyone who have played a certain level and wants to become a professional athlete, we give them our services. We manage them free of cost. And that has been my aim to work in India. Whatever services I go, I'll keep the basics always free. So that's free for everyone, any age group who wants to play big but is struggling to find a good club, team, or even sponsors. So we get sponsors for them. We prepare their profiles, research teams, and everything, and this is all free of cost. But the athlete should be Indian. Second thing is we also do lots of consultancy around pursuing a sports management course. Not only sports management course, any sports course, sports journalism, sports science, whether you want to do it in India or outside India. And we have a full-time person dealing with that. So her name is Ruhi. So she looks after all that, and we have had some good inquiries and trying to work our way up there. So happy to consult anyone who wants to talk about that. And the third is we work with schools and we redevelop their culture curriculum, or sorry, sports curriculum. So in usual PT days when we used to have games period, we just used to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the world has come far now. So what we are trying to do is make a set of games which is modern, and they do not provide you only physical benefits but also emotional, mental, and cognitive. So little games that kids love playing, some indigenous games that can actually not help, that will only not help you improve your motor skills or your running speed, but also helps you become a smart human. So you think about it, you have to take decisions in that game, and then you execute that decision. So you're actually affecting the thinking process of the players, or kids in general, I think. So yes, these are the three things I'm working in: education consultancy, whether it's students who want to study abroad or schools who want to develop something in their school. Then we have got athletes representation, anyone who wants to become a professional athlete and needs some help, like a manager or something, free of cost available. And then the third service is actually esports. So we have also launched some gaming, and we are setting up a full-time boot camp, in the process of setting up a full-time boot camp in Jaipur. So I always welcome any PUBG gamers or anyone who wants to play a game. We welcome them with open arms. Yep.
Such a commendable job that you people are doing, and sounds very very interesting. And I think now that you told us about so many options, we might as well do so many similar kind of interviews around those career options as well, because even
Yeah,
esports
definitely.
is very much trending. Like, it's one of the biggest industries right now in India and elsewhere as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very it's not very regulated. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to work with the government and try and find some sustainable solution, because esports has been included as one of the medal events in Southeast Asian Games 2021.
Right. Right.
So that's a huge positive. Southeast Asian Games, it's a pinnacle, and esports is now officially introduced there. So we are trying to work with the government of India and see what are the ways that we can, sort of improve the streaming of esports and make it a stream of regular sports, outdoor sports.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
While you were talking about all of this, it sort of made me go back to look at your journey from a bird's viewpoint. And everything that you've picked up is very unconventional. If you see, sports, traveling, contributing towards wildlife, environment, these are something which are not like a regular career choice, that most of the Indians
Yeah.
have. And you've come out strong. You're doing wonderful stuff back in India, you're doing wonderful stuff here. So, did it take a lot of convincing for you to do to your family and to your parents in particular? And you're understanding where I'm coming from. Like a lot of
Yeah,
students who have to pick up an unconventional career, there is a huge, this thing going around, that how will you survive? How will you take care of it? So, what is your take on that for both students and parents?
I think first of all, like any other, any other kid in the world, we appreciate our mom and dad for whatever they've done. All our parents, the pain they've taken, and what a kind of character we all were. In some ways or form, they've raised us well. But it only took me one thing, and only once, and that's what I'll give my suggestion to everyone. You only say you only need to say no once to your parents. Okay, I'll explain that. I mean, listen to this. I only said no to my parents once because they said you are not going there, and I said no, I am going there.
This was for Australia, is
Right?
it? Or for the
Oh,
travel?
no, this was for my cycling trip to Mumbai.
Ah,
I think it was even before that. I think this was for football or something. Something happened, and I was just fully packed inside emotion. And I said, "Look, I am going."
yeah.
And there was a point where I had to stand my point.
Mm,
And we will all face this point in our life where no disrespect to parents or anyone else, but you have to stand for yourself, not for your parents, not for anyone else in your whole life. You
mm,
stand your ground and you say no,
mm.
but that comes with a huge responsibility.
It does. It
Then
does.
you have to make sure you are succeeding into that thing. If
Mm.
you do not succeed, you were not strong enough. You were just seeking your way out or your escape.
Agree.
So when I said no, no, yeah, I remember it was for under 14 national championship in Calcutta. They weren't letting me go. I ended up as being the one of the best players of the league. So that was a bit of winning them over. And they said, okay, let's say he's doing something. There's newspaper. There was like 7 articles in 1 week about me. They said, he's doing something. And all those Bollywood stories came out. Mom said, I was going to my mom. My mom is a teacher. She goes, oh, I went to this school, and there's this PTI of our school, the physical education teacher was saying, ma'am, is this your son? He's all over the place in the newspaper and whatnot. And that was something that made them realize and me realize that there is a way out of engineering or anything like that. And then
Yeah. Go ahead.
I kept taking decisions like that. Even coming to Australia, I said, no, I will go to Australia. Then whatever I did here, they, I convinced them, and the trust starts to build up.
Yeah.
The trust starts to build up, and then uh, it's never going to come to a point where they will say, do whatever you want. Even at my age, they're bothering me now with my typical age things. Go get married and go this, do that. And I'm still trying to win them over.
You still say
But if
no, are you still keeping up with the no there?
I've changed my style. I'm a bit more diplomatic now.
Okay.
So I say okay, but I've got a few conditions. When my business is 1 year old, and then I've got certain amount of savings, and then I've got conditions now. So I've changed my style. It's a bit more diplomatic now
Yeah.
because you get to that age where parents, they've got their wishes, and you also don't want to say bluntly no to them. You're living so far, so your attachment grows over time.
Yeah.
Uh, but yes, if you are young, if you want to achieve something, stand your ground.
Agree.
And once you stand your ground, then you make sure that you succeed into that thing. Otherwise, they'll only not scold you, but they'll scold me as well. That what things you are
Yeah.
teaching to us kids.
And me as well. Because I also do take a very strong stand for students, and I tell them कि
Yeah.
"Yeah, थोड़ा इज्जत रख लेना."
Yes, exactly. Otherwise, yeah.
Okay, so now that we're talking about it, like in India, not in India, I'm sure everywhere, the career is also viewed from the perspective of how successful you are, but more than the fame that you earn or the satisfaction that you earn, the third person perspective always is revolving around how much money are you making out of it. And especially when we're talking about unconventional careers, the money bit is only the major concern. The stability is the only major concern. So how do you think it worked around for you, or in general, how does it work around for people around you?
Look, what I would say is, it's certainly a good question. Speaking of any passionate career, I tend to, be away from that word unconventional, because it's not. It's just we are following our passion. So any passionate job you don't do for money. So whether it's me or an artist or anyone else who's doing, who has taken this path, is not money. We do what we do is because of the love of what we do, right? So however, when I said you do your sports management or you get a bit of understanding of the financials, uh, I can tell you that you would be able to live more than a comfortable life, more than a comfortable life. But the struggles are, it's like a spike goes like up, struggle spike, then goes down, and then it's constant and slow growth. So you struggle a lot in the
Initial,
beginning.
it's
Yeah,
more of an initial thing.
yeah. And I'll tell you the same. I am in that position. So I wouldn't say I'm settled. I've only been doing the very first job of my life for 2 years now. I'll complete 2 years. So it is still a struggle.
Okay.
When COVID hit us, we nearly lost our jobs. There was lots of eye openers, and there's heaps of things that you go through. But at the end of the day, when I go down the road, I don't have a job. I'm struggling for whatever thing I'm struggling, but I go down and have a kick with the kids. They smile, they laugh, and you share a meal together. That's it. Uh, that's um,
Keeps you going.
that's more fulfilling than any other job. And this is what all the industries have become. If one thing that I was to give to the listeners or the viewers is, all these things, all this money, all this commercialization is what the art has become, and it's important. And it's important that you earn money from it, but it is not what it was. Even the Olympics today is not for commercialization. The Olympic Games is about bringing humans together. So what you are doing should be your passion. Money will follow. Easy to say, it's easy to say this saying. It's hard to live, but truth is truth. You don't worry about the money that will follow, and once you do your education, you will have enough tools to monetize your art. um, yeah, just don't compromise with your work or your moral ethics, and you'll be fine.
Right, right. Because we not everybody is born with a silver spoon. We also need to
I
understand.
wasn't. I wasn't either. I wasn't either. So people, and I know there's heaps of people who think that people who go abroad do like this. The reason I said I'm not settled is I've got a loan of 50 lakh rupees on my head right now.
Mm.
My dad took that loan. We yeah, we come from well, everyone says they come from a humble background, but my mom and dad, they're earning, and whatever they're doing, they're spending in India and trying to do the best for us. But they would still go out of the way to help us, whether they have to take a loan or they have to arrange anything. But I believe that this loan wouldn't be a long term thing. I'll get it out of the way. I'm gonna keep working. I'm gonna outwork everyone I know around me.
Wow.
I'm going to earn that money back. I'm going to give it back, and then I'll chase my dream, which is to make. Well, I'll share my dream when I achieve it, because otherwise people will say, "Oh, he's
Yeah.
becoming a philanthropist or whatever." But
And
yeah, doing
we
good
all
things.
wish you luck for the same already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last question, because the amount of questions that I have on mind, I think I'll take them all off record now.
Yeah.
But one
Yeah.
last question. So what all kind of skills do you think, or like, there's a certain personality that every career has. What are the
Mhm.
kind of traits and skills do you think that this particular career requires?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll first start with what it doesn't require. Okay.
Okay.
And we shouldn't do. So
Hmm.
the first thing is, like me, anyone else in the sporting industry would hate having, a lot of personal interest or hidden agenda. So a lot of people come into the industry because, let's say, oh, my kid is playing, I want to be on this job, or I want to pursue this so that I can benefit my own personal people or a particular group of people, or a particular lobbying or anything. So if you are coming in this industry, do not come with personal interest or to benefit only a group of certain people, for their interest, commercial interest, I should say. Come with the genuine intention. If you want to coach someone, or even having to work on your own personality is genuinely acceptable. So if you want to come into sports because you want to gain confidence, you want to work on your own fitness, and you want to be evolved and surrounded by healthy people, healthy lifestyle people, you can come to this industry. The traits that you need more or less is uh, I think it's similar like any other industry: hard work, your personal integrity,
Mm.
uh, willingness to learn. That's a big one. And the biggest one I would say is flexibility and willingness to go, because when you come into sporting industry, I know a lot of my mentors, they lose all their social life. I don't know what social life is. Okay. Maybe now I do a little bit, but when I was getting into the industry, I've never woken up past 10 o'clock.
Mm.
Uh, Even today, my day starts at 4:30 a.m. and I'm out by 5 o'clock. I'm on the streets running, on the grounds kicking the ball. And on the weekends, when people are going out partying, I know I can't party on Friday night because Saturday morning, 6 o'clock, my team is playing. I need to be there at 5. I need to be organizing things
Wow.
for them.
So when you
So
say
one thing,
organized chaos, that's where you're talking about the discipline aspect as well.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
yet there is,
yeah,
the dynamism and the adventure, which is like an adrenaline rush for you guys.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
that's a very nice and a very unique combination,
yeah,
I must say.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sarthak. This was an amazing, candid conversation. There's so much I got to learn, and I'm sure the students, the professionals, the graduates who are going to watch it, they'd be grateful too, and already thanking on their behalf as well. So thank
Well,
you.
thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for having me. And I hope I can connect with more people and we can, somehow keep these stories going.